want to start with the college football playoff championship game, Michigan, Washington. We're going to do the preview for this as part of today's episode. Obviously, a very exciting game. I think this is the most fun to watch possible outcome we could have gotten once the four teams were announced. I think there's an argument, even if you had included Georgia as a potential team, this is the most fun championship game because it's not a coincidence that everyone's like, oh, this was the most entertaining playoff, and Georgia just wasn't there. Like when you remove the dominant team and you've got teams that are on an even playing field, all of a sudden the games look a lot more competitive. So I'm expecting a very close game, a very competitive game. I'm expecting Michael Penix to be the best player in this game. I'm expecting the Washington wide receivers to make their presence known in this game. I want to make that very clear. And I'm expecting the Michigan defense to show up and Jim Harbaugh to do weird shit, and this game to come down to how J.J. McCarthy performs. Kind of seems like we've been talking about that all year. What do you expect from this game, Cart? How are you feeling a couple days before the championship?
I will say this. I think that from a neutral perspective, this was the most fun outcome, I think. I think like Michigan versus Washington, I think will just be fun just because you had the storylines, you had the quarterback matchup, you had the guy that gets praised and rightfully so, and Michael Penix, who was a Heisman candidate. And then you have the quarterback on the other side who Michigan fans think should be a Heisman candidate and is a Heisman candidate in their eyes and is an NFL quarterback, certified baller in their eyes, and J.J. McCarthy, with a chance to go head up with Michael Penix and take him down, which I think would carry a lot of weight. And also, there's just like a lot of underlying storylines. Like technically, JJ, for all the people out there who he hasn't won a big game outside of the ones you brought up on other episodes, Greg, with like Ohio State and everything like that. He did win the big game. Like he won the Rose Bowl against Alabama, against Nick Saban. Is there still more to that? Is it like the story finished? Did they get over the hump? Can they really get over the hump to win the national championship? Everything's in front of them. And I just think it's going to be fun to stylistically see what, to take a phrase out of your playbook, like the Cohen Card dunky dunk. Like I'm excited to see what the Washington Michael Penix passy pass offense looks like. You know what I'm saying? Like, how does the Sam Stills, the Will Johnsons, the Wallaces, like, how do they hold up against a NFL level talent wide receiver room with a quarterback who is locked in right now and is slinging the ball over the field, who's taking pressure head on to and like sidestepping and throwing dimes and dots just with a flick of the wrist down the field? I'm interested to see what that happens. I'm also interested to see like what Washington does stylistically against the best running back in Michigan history, and maybe a final tip or final whatever feather in the cap to Blake Corum's legendary Michigan run as a running back for this team. So it's going to be fun to see. It's going to be a fun game. With that said, Washington +4 will be played. Also, Washington money line will be played because of who I am. But Washington +4 is a must play.
Big Husky. Yeah, for the record, the phrase I've coined that's like donkey dunk for Washington football is slingy deep ball. That's what it is. I want to know what happens.
I like passy pass.
Passy pass is good too, but what happens when slingy deep ball goes up against pass rush? I don't know. I do think that's like defensively what it comes down to, because to your point, I don't think Michigan's secondary can keep up with Washington's receivers at all. Not that Michigan's secondary isn't good. They are good. They held up pretty well against Ohio State, who is also a great wide receiver room. Now Marvin Harrison Jr. did have big plays in that game. Like guys are going to get their own, but it's all going to come down to can they actually get to Penix or not. If they can keep a clean pocket, Penix is going to do what Penix always does. The thing is, I think Michigan has the best pass rush right now that Washington has faced this season. Certainly got to Jalen Milroe more than anybody did this season. So I don't know. That's what the game comes down to me. Is just like, are they going to get him uncomfortable or not?
Yeah, but the one thing is, like, I think they did get good pressure on Milroe, and they won the game in the trenches. But I think some of those sacks also had to do with just Milroe being Milroe.
Yeah.
Like Penix is going to see that. Penix is going to feel that. And Penix is going to just get the ball out in that situation in my eyes. But I do agree that he is going to feel the pressure. But if you go through the schedule, Michigan just hasn't seen it goes both ways. Washington probably hasn't seen a pass rush like Michigan, Michigan hasn't seen a quarterback to the level of Michael Penix all year.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a stylistic clash, and it's gonna be like which one's gonna come out on top. It's like how you feel about it. Um, that I lean with the give me the passy pass slingy deep ball fun over the, you know, Doug Shape running back.
Okay, that's a little harsh. So here's my flip on it because I think the much more fun side to talk about is the Michigan defense going to be able to stop the Washington offense? That's the two elite units. I think there's an argument the game could actually be won on the other side. Like, if Washington can generate consistent stops against Michigan, then I think they feel great. But do we think they can? Like, I don't know. And is Michigan still going to be trying to be cute? That was the whole thing against Alabama.
Are you saying like is Washington's defense going to be able to hold up against Michigan?
I think Washington's defense is good, right? But I think
Yeah,
like I
it's,
think
be,
I
it's, be, it's better than people give them credit for sure.
100%. But we talked about it with the Alabama game where Sharon called the game like Michigan was underdogs.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be very surprised if that happens again here. Now they're gonna call cute shit because they're creative and they do that anyway. Like they like to incorporate trick plays. They've done that in all their big games going back the last 3 years where they've made the playoff every time. But I think Michigan can have success just like ground and pounding, controlling clock, and let Corum eat in this game. That's not to say Washington's defense isn't good, but they're not Alabama. Like they are not Alabama's defense. And Michigan had enough success just being straightforward who they are against Alabama that to me I see that translating. Like if Michigan, don't you think the number one way to stop Michael Penix is probably keep him off the field?
Yeah, 100%. And in the games that I did watch this year where Washington struggled, it was the other team kind of ground and pound, like keeping Penix off of the field. And also with the ground and pound game, I think it takes away also the factor that Washington's pretty good at making things happen, like forcing turnovers. Like they were able to force some turnovers in the Texas game. They have some playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. I really like that Muhammad corner they got. Every
Yeah.
time I see him, I feel like he's just very like one of those confident make play corners. I think he's really good. So taking care of the ball will be, you know, very, very important as well. Like obviously the offense in the Michigan Alabama game, they took care of the football. It was more so like, you know, punt, special teams errors. But besides that interception that wasn't, JJ took care of the ball in this game. And I think that's going to be massive because, you know, you don't want to be controlling the game. And then let's say you get cute or you do something that you don't have to do. And a mistake is made by somebody on the team and you get the ball back to Michael Penix.
Yeah. How much does Dylan Johnson's injury affect Washington's chances to win this game?
It affects it a pretty significant amount. Even though everything I'm saying is that I'm seeing is that the X-rays are negative and that he's gonna give it a go.
Anytime you hear "give it a go," that's usually a telling sign.
Well, Dylan Johnson's been like hurt all year. Like his foot's just been messed up since like the third game of the season.
Okay, impressive year given that.
Yeah.
So my read on this is that he's going to give it a go. Feels an awful lot like Blake Corum's going to give it a go against Ohio State last year. There was no go given.
That way different. Dylan Johnson's a father.
Ah, true. Great point. Fantastic point. But
Yeah.
Blake Corum has a barn that he wants to buy for his parents.
It's way different when it's a little one.
Okay, you're right. That's true. You telling me about how important fatherhood is nice added element to the show. Okay. Betting side of this, Washington is underdogs. I think it was like plus 180, plus 190, something like that. Last I looked, what, 4.5 point underdogs?
Yeah. What's the over under? Do you have that?
Pull it up for you.
I'd be very intrigued on what you can get that over at. Like me pulling my handicapping skills out, obviously it's going to be wrong, but can I get like 44, 43?
It's 55.5.
Okay, see, that's why I don't handicap.
So we're playing the under.
Yeah, we're playing the under then. Yes.
Yeah, that feels like an under for sure. With that said, I also don't know that either team can stop each other, but I still like the under. Like I think this is like a 28-27 game, which puts it at exactly 55, which is the under, baby. Slim margins. Special teams, are you worried about that for Michigan? Yes or no after last week?
No, because I'll give you credit on this. It's not something that has been. If it was happening all year, I'd be more worried. But I'm not as worried as long as they can like just put it behind them. Which, to me, they got players that could put it behind them. Like Samaj Morgan is the most likely player to put something behind him.
Yeah. Okay. Um, Trying to think if there's anything else I want with this. I will just say I think the betting side of it, I think the value is on Washington. The value is on Washington money line. The value is on Washington points. This game should be a pick 'em to me. It should be a total toss up pick 'em. I like the under slightly, as mentioned. I think if it was a pick 'em, I would lean Michigan wins the game. But my bet will be placed on Washington, just like my bet was placed on Alabama last game. I think that's where the value is. I don't think they're going to be able to stop Penix. I just don't. I think Penix is that good. There is very much a Kemba Walker-esque element to Washington this year, and that's no disrespect because Kemba Walker played with Shabazz Napier. There's other good dudes on the Washington team. I'm not saying there aren't, but he's the hero ball type hero guy in college football, and that's the most dangerous thing. You see great quarterbacks beat great teams all the time. With that said, sometimes when you're Kemba Walker, you get a break of who you play in the national championship game. Sometimes you don't. I think Washington's playing the best team in college football in the championship game. I don't think this is a break. And I think the value's on Washington to bet. I think Michigan is going to win this football game.
Yeah, Washington, best team in college football.
Best team in college football that is still playing. Georgia's the best team in college football. Michigan's the second best team in college football.
I'll give you that. I'll let that go.
Okay.
Yeah. With that said, Washington.
Do you want to do a personal bet on this one?
I would love to actually.
What do you want to bet?
See, there's not really much to lose for you, is there? In this bet?
I have the bet. I have the bet. I have the bet.
Okay.
For every yard that JJ McCarthy throws for in this game, I want you to have to eat a Chips Ahoy chunky cookie.
Every yard?
Huh? Yep.
No. I could end up eating like 200 cookies.
Yes.
No.
Why? They're small cookies.
No.
They're small cookies. You can take your time. You can come back. You have 24 hours to do it. 24 hours.
200?
24 hours to do it.
Nah, I will do 2 cookies for every 50 yards.
No. That's ridiculous.
No,
it's not hard to eat.
Chips Ahoy cookies.
It's not hard to eat 20 Chips Ahoy cookies. Like, that's not hard.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. No, it's not. But
they're tiny little cracker cookies.
I do not want to eat 200 Chips Ahoys.
Well, then you better hope Washington wins.
Oh, wait. Washington has to.
If Michigan wins, you have to eat a Chips Ahoy cookie for every yard that JJ McCarthy throws for. Which, by the way, you're acting like, oh, it could be 200. No, you think McCarthy stinks. It could be 140. That's not many.
That's still a lot of cookies, man.
You have 24 hours to do it. That's not a ton of cookies. I'll even buy the cookies. That would be it. You have 24 hours to do it. But on camera, you have to eat a cookie for every JJ McCarthy yard he throws for. Chips Ahoy Chunky, the tiny little Chips Ahoys.
Can they be the Chips Ahoy Chewy?
It can be any variation of Chips Ahoy, but you have to have at least one full package of the brown Chunky.
Those cookies are big.
No, they're the same size as the Chewy. Trust, I'm a Chips Ahoy connoisseur.
All right, fine deal. What are you doing? Are you doing a cookie for every Penix yard?
Come up with your side of the bet. I mean, I would, but I love Chips Ahoy. But that might be 450 Penix cookies.
Okay. All right, we'll do this. Because Penix could throw for 400 yards, I don't want to see you eat 400 cookies. If Washington wins, you have to do I'll cut you a break. You do the difference between Penix and McCarthy's yards.
Ah, I like that. Okay. I like that. That feels great.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Deal. And I want to add this. So it becomes a challenge at that point, right? Like if JJ throws for 200 yards and Michigan wins, you have 24 hours to eat 200 Chips Ahoy cookies. If Penix
Yes.
throws for 400 yards and JJ throws for 200 and Washington wins, I have 24 hours to eat 200 Chips Ahoy cookies. If the challenge is not met, whatever the number is of remaining cookies that you did not eat, you have to wear a Michigan shirt everywhere you go for that number of days. So if you are 100 cookies short, 100 consecutive days you have to wear a Michigan shirt.
Okay. I'll do that. But the same thing for you. I want a framed picture of Connie and Dave and Murph all in Michigan State gear. And I want a picture taken and I want it framed and I want it sent to my house.
Okay, deal.
Okay, deal.
Wow, I think I'm really excited for the sleepers bet. I can't wait for this.